Bienvenidos todos mis amigos y amigas. Hoy te quería presentar una de mis favoritas Okay, I'm not even gonna front like I can fluently speak Spanish. I can hold up a little conversation, but I'm definitely nowhere in the ballparks of giving a review full on Spanish. I just wanted to try to see as far as I can get. Welcome everybody, this is Freddie and we're back in my horror corner. I hope you're all having a great day, great week, and just sending nothing but positive vibes and energy out there. So really quick, before I get into this review, I just want to say, if you haven't already, if you're enjoying this type of content, if you like found footage movies, if you love horror, then please just go ahead and subscribe for weekly videos. I'm trying to do my best out here to provide you with all these beautiful and awesome movies and some very cringy movies. But I did post a poll on Twitter sometime last week asking 3 options between leaving DC, in a stranger's house, and I knew this would win, so I can't even say that I'm mad. Part of me wanted it to win. As much as I really enjoyed these smaller budget indie films, I just wanted to knock a big one out the way, and why not start off with one of the best ones ever, Wreck. Came out in 2007, directed by, and I'm sorry if I get this name wrong, I was trying to say it, but Juame Balaguero. Okay, sorry. And we actually have 2 directors, so we have him, and then we also have Paco Plaza. And both of these 2 worked on the first movie, and they went and made 3 other sequels, and this movie just knocked it out the park. It won 15 something plus awards, and it was nominated for a lot of stuff. It went to 3 different festivals before it was released nationwide in Spain, and eventually it's one of those movies that was heard all across the world. So much that they decided, hey, let's freaking take this movie and just remake it into an English version. Don't want to get into that right now. But yes, they went and remade this into 2008's Quarantine. But in my opinion, this is the superior original film. It's got more of an authentic feel, and I'm not going to go too much into Quarantine. I'll probably bring it up a few times because you can't talk about Wreck without having to bring up Quarantine, even though you probably can. Now, the story itself is pretty simple and straightforward. It's not until we get into the sequels that we learn a lot more about what's really going on in this movie with the virus itself. But we follow Angela and Pablo, who work at a news station doing a late night segment called Mientras Usted Duermes. And they're tagging along for the night a group of firemen at a station. And this is a really cool part because we get a little bit of insight as to how fire stations operate. They do go with a little bit more into that in Quarantine, but we're not talking about Quarantine. We're talking about motherfucking Wreck. Okay, so let's go back. So they go into a little bit about the fire station, how they operate there, what they really do. It seems like on a normal night, it's not much activities going on. They even say that a lot of the calls, about 70% of the calls they get are not even fire-related issues. They, just the usual stuff firefighters do. And I thought this segment was okay, but I felt like it needed to be in there to get us moving. And we don't spend too much time there, which I personally like. We spend about maybe 10 or so minutes. And it's not until they get a disturbance call and they respond to it where the action really picks up. There's a call from a building, and apparently the neighbors heard a lot of screaming, very crazy screaming actually from an elder lady that lives there, and no, she's not responding to the door, so they call the firemen. There's first responding police officers already on the scene. They're there to just pretty much keep everybody at bay until the firemen come, they're able to take down the door. And one of the first responding police officers is actually attacked by this elderly lady who seems very crazed. She's bloody. You're not really sure what the hell's going on. And when the police officers are attacked, they rush them downstairs. But it's when they get to the door that the tenants are all down there hey, they're not even opening the door. They're not letting us out. And this is where the movie pretty much kicks off, because they're essentially we're not told right away, but then you hear somebody through an intercom basically saying, hey, just stay in there, don't move, don't panic. Once we get some health inspector here to assess the situation, then you guys will be okay to leave. And this just causes so much claustrophobia to me personally, being locked in like this, because there's several times in the movie where they attempt to go out and there's just like SWAT team on the other side waiting for them, telling them they will gun them down if they attempt in any way to get out. And I just, oof, the claustrophobia was real, guys. This felt very intense of a movie, and it's due to an infection, and it's not very known at first, but I'm letting you know now. There is an infection, and that's the whole reason why they seal up the building and quarantine it. Now, this movie, we have quite a few characters. I'm not going to go straight into every single character, breaking them all down. I mean, it's just a lot of them, and there's not very much to break down, really. If I wanted to, I probably could. But we follow mostly Angela Vidal, who is played by a Manuela Velasco. And so I would say one of my biggest likes right now is her, mostly due to how authentic this feels when she is talking to the camera as if she was a newscaster. Because I looked up research, and yeah, she actually worked for news in Spain, and it shows so much. The way she just comes off, the way she's presenting to the camera. There's a scene where she's explaining, like it's like about halfway, they've already been trapped, some crazy shit has already went down, and she's talking to the news camera, explaining how the tenants are very scared, nobody knows what's going on, the cops, they will not let us in. I felt like I was channeling her right there, and she was probably the sole carrier of this whole movie, in my opinion. We also follow her cameraman, Pablo, played by Pablo Rosso. Don't know much about him. There's not really much to say about him, to be honest. He's just a man behind the camera who's told to keep filming, never stop. We also have the two firefighters that we follow around mainly. We have Manu, played by Ferran Terraza. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. I'm so bad with names. And then we have Alex, who is played by David Yurt. And these two guys, they're likable. So when I say likable, I mean, I don't want to get too ahead of myself. So yes, they're very likable characters. They come off very realistic to me. They do feel like they could probably be legit firefighters. Earlier in the movie, there is a scene where she's going around the fire station, and they're all in the town hall. They're all in their hall eating, the kitchen hall eating. And I guarantee you, this was a legit fire. This was a legit fire station. They actually shot on locations. Nothing was built in this movie. And a lot of the movie probably went into being able to go into this fire station, I would assume, and just get footage in there and tag along in the fire truck, because that feels so real. You see all these firemen eating and firefighters eating, and it just, you could tell probably over half of them, if not all of them, are pretty much all legit firefighters. And I really enjoy that aspect of it all. We also have a few other characters. I'm going to just name one character right now that when I first saw him, I thought, okay, this guy seems kind of funny, but he turns out to be very just ignorant. Okay. We have Caesar, who is played by Carlos Lesarte. And this guy, like I said, you first see him and he seems kind of funny, older Mexican dude, kind of quirky. But it's not until they interview him that his very ignorant side comes out. He immediately just starts blaming this foreign couple in the building, this Asian couple, and he's like, "Oh, it's the Asian people in there. They eat raw food." I think he's talking about sushi, and he's generally just he doesn't like these people. And he just obviously that's the scapegoat for him. And I didn't hate him, but I just thought he was fucking ignorant. And I guess that needed to be in there because I don't know. I don't get why that even needed to be in there, but I guess to showcase you that there's ignorant people out there no matter where, in any country, of any color. People just hate on other people for the dumbest reasons. But I'm digressing. So one big thing I really liked about this movie is how authentic and genuine it came off. I was just talking about the main lead. She's big part of that reason. Another reason is, apparently when I was doing research, the freaking actors, a lot of them didn't know or were not told about what was going to happen in the movie. So there's a lot of stuff where they're genuine, their actions are like legit genuine. We get, it's about maybe about like 20 minutes or so in, there's a pretty legit jump scare. Like I thought that was very clever, well done. I already knew it was coming though, and only because of freaking quarantine. But this was just, I felt like this was more better. But nobody knew that this was coming in the movie. So when this guy like falls down out of nowhere from like whatever floor he's on, and everybody just like thought like was just caught so off guard that they're all screaming like, what the fuck? And I just thought that was great. Like, I love that they had that idea. They wanted to go for such an authentic feel. And what other better way than keeping your actors, you know, in the unknown about certain things that are going to happen in the movie. I thought it was very clever, and I just got to applaud them for doing that. So a big thing I really liked was the practical effects in this movie. There's this one scene that it still just gets to me. It's the guy that got his face bit off of one of the cops. And there's like an intern. There's somebody in the building that's an intern for some medical field. So we get this little scene where this guy, he's prepping up his needle to probably put some antibiotics, you know, give him an injection. And he straight up injects the guy like right in the wound of the face where it's all tore off, and it just looks so real. It's very hard to like even stare at or look. I'm glad it's so quick, but that was like one of my favorite parts in that movie, was just that effect. There's another thing I really like is, okay, so I hate to have to like bring up quarantine so much because I'm not even reviewing it. I'm not trying to, but the difference in these two movies, one big difference is, besides the ending, and it's not spoon feeding you. This doesn't take its audience for granted. It leaves it open for interpretation. You think it's freaking zombies from the beginning, but when you get to the end, it's something a little more different, and I love that. You get little hints, and if you're paying attention throughout the movie, there's little hints. Like in the beginning, there's a girl who is very sick. The mom says that her dad is out getting medicine for her, and that her dog was taken to the vet for whatever reason. And there's a part where the health inspector or somebody from the CDC in Spain finally gets there. Shit goes down because with these zombies or these infected people end up coming alive, so they all run out. And this is where they held down the guy for answers because they're just sick and tired of it, of being out of the loop. This guy from the outside of the CDC is the only one with answers, and they get him to tell him, they get him to explain that essentially what happened was they received a call from a veterinarian about this dog that was brought in, and he was behaving really weird. He had some type of like illness, something they've never seen in his blood work. He turned very aggressive. They eventually had to put this dog down. And I love this part because this is like such a good tension scene right here. Right after that, the main actress, Angela, she interrupts. She goes, wait a minute. Is the dog's name Max? And the camera just pans over, and it's the mom just standing in the hallway with her girl, and everybody just instantly knows the way that they even react to her. She's like over here, oh, it's just a cough, and one of the dudes is like, bullshit. And I just love that they're just basically just like a lynch mob. But right after that, this little girl just goes into full like infection mode, and you get this very creepy scene with her just standing there looking kind of rabid, and I freaking love that part, man. And I also really enjoy like its ending. Like I said, it's a little vague. You have to really pay attention. There's like newspaper clippings. If you can read some of it, it'll explain a little bit of it. There's a recording they're listening to, the guy basically giving out what happened. It's kind of hard to make out, but essentially he's talking about some girl they're talking about like some girl, and I believe, this might be a spoiler, I had to look into it. She needed to be exercised because there was something wrong with her. I think she's the reason how this is all spreading about. It's some type of like demon virus or something. That's all I'm going to say right now. Like, I really urge you to watch it and give it a shot for yourself. Plus, Rec 2 will go ahead and explain a lot more of what's really happening. Okay, so I personally love this movie. I find very little wrong with it, but there are just some little stuff I'm going to have to nitpick here in my point of view. There are other people that will probably see this and say, man, there is a lot wrong with this. You don't know what you're talking about, dude. And hey, I probably don't, but this is just my opinion. For me, a lot of these characters weren't too fleshed out, and like I've said this before, I think in my Area 407 video, like I need a little more substance. They were trying to go for just, I get the story, they were trying to tell this story in a unique narrative, and it was very effective, but it's hard to care about some of these people. I don't care about the cameraman. I would love to care about the firemen, the firefighters, but I don't know too much about them. You don't, like I said, this is nothing. You get your very generic type of characters. You have like a racist tenant, you have like a foreign couple, you have like a grouchy old couple, and you have angry cop who's mad because he's left out of the loop, who thinks he's in charge. It's just like, aside from like the main actress, who you don't even get too much on their background, it just feels very generic in that sense. And I hate to say that, but that's just honestly how I feel about that. Another part I hate is there's a little inconsistencies in the movie. This is something that I didn't notice on my first or second viewing, but as I watched this movie about 4 times to try to review it for you guys. I've seen it before a while ago, but I had to watch it at least 4 times because my brain is dumb. I don't know. But about the 3rd time, I kind of picked up something. There's a scene at the end where you get the tape recorder. It almost feels like a nod to Evil Dead. I love that. And she's hitting play, and then she starts hitting rewind, play, and then rewind. But when the guy's talking, he's kind of like saying what would have said if she would have just hit play. Like she hits play and rewind, right? And he starts saying something, and then she hits rewind and hits play, and it sounds like he's just continuing his sentence. Like, basically, I don't know. It was kind of weird. It was just a little like, okay, that was, I don't know, it was just a movie. It's like one of those movie mistakes, I would assume. But it didn't bother me too much. One thing I will say is I just don't like the fact that this movie was remade. I don't know why. I saw Quarantine first, like a long time ago. Probably way, like, when I wasn't even into as much as I am into horror now. And I thought, oh, okay, it wasn't bad. It creeped me out a lot. Then later on in my life, I got really into horror. Like later on in my years, I got really into horror, especially found footage. And I found out that this was essentially a remake. And it's a shot-by-shot remake. There is little to, like maybe 2 to 3 different things. You spend more time with the firefighters in their station and them just fucking having to be all perverse. I just fucking hated it, how they made it seem. I guess Americans are very fucking always sexual. They make fun of they don't make fun of Jennifer Carpenter in the movie, but there's a scene in Quarantine where they are talking, they think they're in private, and the 2 dudes like, oh, $100, I'll bang her by fucking the morning. I just thought that was so cringe. I recently watched Quarantine before I let this review out because I felt like I had to just recap my memory on it. They spoon feed you in Quarantine, and I hate that. Okay, I have to stop. I don't want to talk about Quarantine. I feel like that's unfair. This movie's about wreck, but I felt like it needed to be brought up. So some of my favorite scenes, there's like a few. There's a scene at the very beginning of the movie that I really enjoyed. It's like right when the firefighters get there, and the cop, he's been trying to keep everybody at bay. He's been trying to keep everybody calm, And he's like telling the firefighters, all right, let's go upstairs. Who are these camera people? You're freaking responsible. And everybody's trying to come up the stairs with them, and he has to tell them twice. But the second time, he like pops off, and he feels so offended. He's like, do you not speak English? Am I speaking a crazy language here? Do you not understand me? Stay downstairs. And I fucking love that. I don't know why. It was just so like, it was just a funny like moment because it's exactly how that would be, dude. If you were in a building and something crazy like this would happen, you'd want to fucking go, what the hell's going on up there? It's just like I brought up in my Murder, Death, Koreatown review, when the dude's like staring out the window, like we all do that. What's going on outside? Or if you live in like a building like that, you want to go check it out. So I absolutely love that scene for some reason. Another favorite scene of mine was where the intern was injecting the guy with the antibiotic. That was just, that was like one of the best like gory shots I've ever seen. His face is just munched off. His eyes are like twitching at the back of his head, and you just see the needle going inside. And I was just like, ugh! I don't know. I love that scene. Another scene I just mentioned was when you find out about the lady and her sick daughter. About this basically coming from the little girl because she's the one with the dog at the vet where this is all happened, like where the virus. Where, you know what I'm saying. Sorry, I'm kind of just getting all over the place. But I love that scene when they all turn to her and they're just looking at her and she's just, holding her kid up, and she just like, you know, she's scared. She's just, it's just bronchitis. Like it's just a cold. You know, you guys are tripping. Like that's all it is. And she starts freaking out because she knows that they're basically they want to take the kid from her. So I just thought that was a very great and effective scene. And another scene I really like. Here's another big spoiler for the ending. This part, I wonder if he had some inspiration from it. There's this movie that came out earlier in the year that I reviewed called Host, directed by Rob Savage. It's currently on Shudder. You should check it out. Fucking love it. It's a great laptop found footage style movie. But so if you guys don't know, Host was actually a short, like a 2-minute short that he decided to pull a little prank on his friends. And in the prank, he's talking to his friends. He's telling them how he's been hearing noises in his attic, and he's gonna go check it out. And his friends, he takes the camera up there, and he does like a pan around shot where this like little demon boy comes out and scares him, and he falls. And there's essentially a part just like that in this movie. And I don't know if that's a nod to Rec if he did that, but when I saw this on my rewatch, I was like, holy shit, they do something like this in that movie, Host, which came out years after this movie. So, I don't know. I just personally love that. That was very well done. I thought very good jump scare. And overall, just excellent scene. All right, so if I had to just give you my final thoughts, an overall conclusion, this movie is a fucking roller coaster of a ride with a lot of ups and a few downs. When you get to the down moments, it does seem a little slow. But I love that it picks up pretty fast. It's like the first crazy thing is about like 14 minutes in, which is pretty freaking awesome. Like, damn, that's when the dude gets his face bit off. And it's an overall great pace. Like I said, it's up and down. And I would highly recommend this to anybody that's a fan of the found footage subgenre. It's got a great, unique narrative, and it's not the first time we've seen some type of news found footage thing. If you've seen mockumentaries like The Last Broadcast and Ghostwatch, it's not unique, okay? But there was something so genuine about this movie that caused it to just be such a worldwide phenomenon. I mean, it's got like 3 other sequels. It had a $2 million budget, and motherfucker made like 30-something million dollars, which is freaking good. I mean, I think that's fucking, I don't know much about how that works, but that seems like a great fucking profit to me. And this is just one of those movies I feel like, personally, if you love found footage, this is a must watch for anybody. Even in the horror genre. I was looking up some stuff, and it's on this one list, Times Out. I thought it was a Time magazine, but it's on some list of like 100 out of 100. It's like number 50 or 60, which is pretty fucking like awesome for a found footage movie. I'm sure Blair Witch is up in there too, but in my opinion, this goes up there with like Blair Witch and Noroi the Curse. Like those 3 I think are essential, maybe with a few other ones. But that I would highly recommend this. I give this I'm not good at ratings. I rated something, and somebody watched something that I rated, and maybe I gave it too high of a rating. I don't know how these work. I'm very hesitant on giving movies a rating, but if I can, I would give this about a 4.5, close to a 5 out of 5, because this movie is absolutely perfect with just the little discrepancies, like I told you about the tape recorder. Some of the characters feel very like one-dimensional, if you will, but other than that, I just thought it was fucking awesome. So with that being said, please be sure to like if you do. If you don't, go ahead and like. It would mean a lot to me. If you have something to say, whether it's about the movie, I'm open to criticism. I'm very new to this. I'm learning as I go. Please just leave a comment. If you want to just name call me, I really don't care. I probably won't respond to it, but with that being said, I just want to give a shout out to Shudder streaming service. It's a great service. I highly recommend this for any horror fan. There's also a subreddit for the Shudder streaming service and a Discord for it as well that I highly recommend anybody checking out. You can also follow me on Twitter. I'll go ahead and I'll leave all the links for everything in the description. And there's also a found footage subreddit that I frequently go on that I highly recommend. So I love you all. I hope to see you guys with the weeks to come. I will put these out as much as I can, at least once a week for sure. I'm aiming for Tuesdays. Sometimes it might be Thursdays, but we'll try to keep it every 7 to 8 days. I'll be doing this. So happy spookies.